Hey, I'm Lana from Lana Glowshot Art, and in this video, we'll be unboxing the June 2024 SketchBox. This box is all about working with charcoal and exploring value, and I'm going to share with you a bunch of fun, moody mark-making techniques. Ready? Let's go. The surface in this month's box is the Nova Series Mixed Media Paper by Stillman & Byrne. This is a gray toned surface that accommodates a variety of different materials. Next up, we have the Brunzell pastel pencils in black and dark gray, which can be kept sharp with the Pacific Arc sharpener. Starting with the dark gray pencil, let's draw a cube. This cube doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, you can soften up mistakes with your finger, and we'll also be laying charcoal over the top of this so you won't see any of those mistakes you made earlier on. Next, we have the Pacific Arc Compressed Charcoal 3 set in soft, medium, and hard, and the SketchBox Signature Blending Stumps. Using my soft compressed charcoal stick, I come through and lay in all of the dark values. The light source is coming from the top left, so I'm applying the charcoal in the background, that front right plane, and the cast shadow on the surface. And then after I have full coverage with my charcoal everywhere, I use the number 4 blending stump to work this compressed charcoal into the surface of the paper and create an even tone. If I came in with lots of pressure with my compressed charcoal, this would go too dark too fast. But using the blending stump allows me to find a softer, lighter value, and then I can build it up slowly with lots of control. Using my black pastel pencil, I'm coming in and darkening that plane on the right. This plane will be the darkest because it's nearly parallel to the light source that is coming in from the top left. And I'm allowing it to be darker at the top and fade out as I come towards the bottom. When it comes to creating lighter values, we have the kneaded eraser and the Rembrandt pastel in gray. It's common to think of erasers as a tool to get rid of mistakes, but when you're working with charcoal, I want you to consider your eraser as a drawing tool. You can use your kneaded eraser to pull away darker values and reveal lighter values. Here, I'm sculpting the kneaded eraser into a specific shape and using it to draw straight lines. I can also use it as a stamp or to rub the value away completely to create really specific shapes. Because the gray pastel is lighter than your paper, you can use this to introduce lighter values, and you can use all different sides of your pastel to create a variety of different marks. Here I'm using a little chunk of kneaded eraser to remove some of the charcoal from the bottom of the right side of the cube. This is allowing me to illustrate the reflected light on this surface. I use the Rembrandt pastel to lighten up the other two faces of this cube, with the top face being the very lightest, and I'm applying more pastel there. Then I blend and smooth out these surfaces. The final step is just to clean up and polish the edges. Last up, we have General Pencil China markers in black and white. Toward the top of your China marker, you'll notice a string. You can use this string to expose more of the material. You'll just simply pull down and then unravel the exposed paper. You only want to remove a small amount at a time, however, because if you have a lot of China marker exposed and push down hard, you will experience breakage. China markers have a completely different texture than the charcoal and pastel in this set. Charcoal and pastel blend and can be easily manipulated to create a variety of different values, but these China markers require a lot of pressure to lay down a mark that isn't going to move. It's a fairly blunt instrument, so it's not great for fine details, but it is really good for applying your brightest whites and your darkest darks. And this tool is also going to be pivotal for drawing shapes that you don't want to move at all. The prompt for this month is storm, and throughout this video, I have taught you all the skills that you need to create a stormy landscape. The last skill that we need to work on is silhouettes, which will be perfect for playing around with our China markers. A silhouette refers to the outline of a shape filled in with a solid color. So with a silhouette, you're not seeing value gradation. Instead, it is a dynamic or interesting shape that is completely solid and filled in. When we think silhouettes, we often think shadows or the shape of something with the sunset in the background. On this page, I am creating several desert-inspired silhouettes that play around with interesting shapes, and then I'm using the China marker with a ton of pressure to fill them in. Before you begin building up the values in your stormy composition, it's important to figure out where everything is placed. I start with a loose pastel sketch with the dark gray pastel because this is easily movable and I can shift and change things as I finalize the composition. I have a little house that's built off of the structure of the 3D cube in the right. I'm building up a tree, and then I've got the horizon line and some stormy clouds. Usually I begin with the background and work forward, but I really wanted this silhouette of the tree to stand out. So I actually started with my China marker and built up this really dynamic silhouette. And because this waxy texture resists the charcoal, it will stay immovable throughout the entire piece. For a little extra interest, I also added a secondary tree, and that wasn't part of my original plan, but I felt that it made this area a little more interesting. With the tree in place, I came in with my soft compressed charcoal stick and began to build up the storm clouds in the sky. These clouds are going to be darker than my paper, so I want to lay in my value, but I want to build it up slowly. So I'm just doing a very light layer, and this is going to blend out very easily and allow me to layer on more value as needed. Before blending it out, I bring this value throughout the entire composition, and then I come through with my blending stump and smooth everything out. This allows me to have very even value, but if I don't press too hard, I'm able to keep some of that gritty texture, which is really nice for this stormy landscape. So I'm really coming in with medium pressure, and I'm trying to match the mark of my blending stump with that texture that I'm rendering. So with the grass, I'm making short vertical strokes. In the clouds, small circular strokes. And once I have some material built up on my stump, I can drag that into other areas for a lighter value. For dark, tight values, the black pastel pencil is your best bet. And I'm using this to add some more texture to the grass and the plants in the landscape and to refine the edges of the house. I can leave these marks exactly as they are, or I can soften them by just smudging them a bit with my finger. I transition to a quick circular mark when I move into the clouds, and this is going to help create a variety and a hierarchy of textures. This set of materials allows you to reach a wide range of values, and for those darkest values, I would definitely lean into more pressure with your pastel and your darker charcoal sticks. When you want those mid values, allow more of the paper to shine through these layers or transition over to the dark gray pastel pencil. This will allow more nuance in those mid value shades, and that's exactly what I'm using to create some of the mid values in the foreground and in the sky. Once this is established, I'm coming in with my kneaded eraser and I'm removing some of the sky so that I can come right in with my China marker. I am making the sun shine through the clouds, so I'm using a diagonal stroke and I'm allowing it to hit right on the roof of this little house. I started with the China marker so that those marks could be really strong and bold and they're not going to move around much. And then I'm coming over the top with the gray pastel pencil to soften some of the harshness in these marks and to create more variety in my lighter values. And when I'm blending out the pastel with my finger, I'm using a clean finger. So you'll notice I'll switch over to my ring finger because my other two fingers are covered in charcoal. I go ahead and pull the gray pastel throughout the entire composition. This allows me to create a path that my viewer's eye can follow as it moves throughout the entire drawing. And I continue to refine and tweak the composition until I'm pleased with it. I especially lean into the black pastel pencil and I push my darks a little bit further so that I have that really strong, bold contrast. My very last move is to come in over the top with my China marker and add one more tree. And I felt that this helped balance out the two other trees on the other side and helped the house feel more a part of the landscape. And now this piece is complete. I hope you learned a ton about working with charcoal and creating a bunch of marks, and we can't wait to see what you create. So be sure to use the hashtag SketchBoxJune when you post your work online. For more unboxing videos and tutorials, you can check out our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.